Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One-to-One. Each week, we address issues of timely and timeless concern with newsmakers and the journalists who report on them, with artists, writers, scientists, educators, social scientists, and government leaders. We meet each one-to-one. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Karen Gould, the 9th president of Brooklyn College, to the program. And it's been a very productive year for Dr. Gould and the college, one of the jewels of the CUNY system.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You've been president of Brooklyn College for less than a year, having come from California State University at Long Beach. What's been your biggest surprise since arriving in New York City?
The dynamism of the campus, it is just wonderful. It's a much smaller campus in size than Cal State Long Beach, but every bit as vibrant and diverse, and the students are so talented and energetic and thoroughly engaged. So it's been a pleasant surprise, and I'm delighted.
You have, what, 17,000 students?
A little over 17,000 students, that's correct.
Undergrads and grads?
That's correct, yes. About 13,400 undergraduates, and the rest are graduate students.
Okay. Now, the California university system is huge.
Yes, it is.
It's also a public system in a state with severe budget problems, like,
yes.
you know, like the New York university system.
Even worse.
Is it yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
worse. How can you compare the two? How are they alike and how are they different, the systems?
Right. Well, in California, there are two systems. The UC system, which many people are familiar with, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, Irvine, San Diego, and then there's the California State University system, which includes 23 different campuses that are all baccalaureate and masters with some very limited professional doctoral programs, such as educational leadership, and now they're talking about an applied nursing doctorate. But then there are all of the two-year institutions in California that are really less systematized. So in that sense, it really doesn't look very much like CUNY, which is a much tighter system of both two-year and four-year and graduate school programming in a very concentrated area. You can imagine the state of California, 23 campuses in the CSU spread out all over California. They're a long way from one another. So the integration, the monthly meetings with the chancellor, those kinds of things are much more difficult to do in California.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have SUNY here as well in New York, and so we do see some similarities. In terms of the research institutions with the many doctoral programs being located primarily in the larger campuses of SUNY.
Right.
And that is not unlike UC and CSU. Although I would say that in both states, those boundaries of Research One, doctoral education, and undergraduate master's comprehensive institutions, those boundaries are changing as the population requirements and needs of the constituencies are changing as well.
You've been affiliated with both public and private institutions. How are the public and the private scenarios? How are they similar? How are they different?
Well, I have been primarily at public institutions, 6 out of the 7 I've been at, but I think that the dynamics are in some ways very different and in some ways very similar. For example, in the arena of fundraising and development, it used to be the case in many states that public higher ed didn't pay a whole lot of attention to external funding to support the enterprise.
Tended to have small endowments, if any endowments at all.
That's correct. And I know, as a matter of fact, when I arrived in Long Beach in 2007, I learned that prior to 15 years before my arrival, the presidents of the CSU had been told they were not allowed to fundraise.
Really?
Now, of course, those days have changed tremendously. And the reason is, in California, as in Florida, as in Arizona and Nevada, and all of these other states that are, Ohio as well, in tight times, and now New York, the systems and the individual public institutions understand that much of their core funding is being eroded by budget cuts, and that tuition can only go up so much to make up the difference. And so fundraising has become a very central part of not only every president's portfolio around the country, public and private, but also deans.
Right. Right.
And at the University of Cincinnati, I fundraised a lot.
Because my sense is that the CUNY campuses were not that much into fundraising, but are more so now.
Absolutely, and I think that is partially due to the very fine leadership and guidance of Chancellor Goldstein, who was a very effective fundraiser when he was president of Baruch, but also recognition that we are going to have to do this to ensure the quality, excellence, and the continuation of innovation on our campuses.
What was the lure of Brooklyn College for you?
Well, the lure of Brooklyn College is complicated. It's a very strong institution with a dedication to the liberal arts tradition, which is very foremost in the institution's makeup and character, but it also has become more rich in its offerings. For example, few people know that the most popular major at Brooklyn College is business.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Most people don't. And so we are about to create a school of business at Brooklyn College, which will give the already very attractive programs more profile. But it is an institution that was founded, has a wonderful mission, and that attracted me, founded with the support of FDR, as we know, to provide an opportunity for an extremely high-quality education at a very, very affordable price. In those days, extremely affordable for many first-generation students, students who might not otherwise be able to go to a high-quality institution, and that was the origin of Brooklyn College. And it is a remarkable tradition that we have maintained even today. And the diversity of Brooklyn, and frankly, the diversity of the world, can be found at Brooklyn College.
What are the demographics? What's the demographics of the students? What's that like?
The demographics, about 26% African American, nearly 25% Latino at this point, rising population of Asian students. Mm-hmm. We have students whose parents immigrated from Russia. You can hear Russian spoken on the campus if you walk around certain corners.
That probably makes it somewhat distinctive from some other CUNY campuses. I don't hear a lot of Russian being spoken at Queens College.
That's true. That's the Coney Island effect.
Okay.
Also, we have a significant Haitian population in Brooklyn, in South Brooklyn, and many Haitian communities surrounding our campus, so you can also hear French Creole and spoken on our campus and even on our staff. So it is a wonderfully rich panoply of immigrant America, and as we know, Brooklyn and New York City have been the welcoming home for immigrants for over 100 years, and so we have stayed true to our mission. You might say that the faces and the ethnicities and the cultural backgrounds have changed in the 80 years that Brooklyn College has been open, but the core commitment to educating this population of first-generation college-bound students is there. And it's very exciting, and our faculty and staff are very committed to that mission.
Tell me about some of the new facilities that you're working on. I mean, the Roosevelt Science Center, you're about to go into the design phase. What would that mean academically and fiscally for the college?
That's a very important project. As we know, nationally, science education and producing the next generation of scientists and computer scientists is terribly important to the national economy. It's terribly important to the economy of New York State and to the future creativity of the workforce. And we're not, as a nation, doing very well in this arena. We aren't doing as well as we should with science educators in K through 12. So in order to do our job and attend to the future as best we can, we need facilities that are 21st century facilities where science in the 21st century can be conducted. And I regret to say that many of our facilities at Brooklyn College have, like on many campuses, been maintained at a 1950s scientific condition, and that's not helpful for our students. So we have been moving around the campus, and certainly President Kimmick, prior to my arrival, was endeavoring to deal with this as well, to try to upgrade our facilities, but it is time really for a new building. And that's what the Roosevelt Science Complex will be, is a phased in of both teaching and research at the highest quality for 21st century needs.
Is that named for FDR? Is that which?
Yes, that
okay.
is, as a matter of fact, and I imagine that name will We'll stay, of course, if we have a wonderful donor.
Right,
Perhaps
the name could change.
The name could change, but there will always be recognition of FDR.
Okay. You're also planning a new arts center.
Yes.
You've completed the design for it. What happens now?
And that's a very exciting project, and we are about to be shovel ready, as they say.
Really?
Yes, we are very close, and I am hoping that we will be putting shovels in the ground sometime over the next 8 months. That building will be a wonderful performance and also rehearsal space and student practice space for both theater and music, so it's a combined space. And it's also going to be a wonderful venue for our community, our public around Brooklyn College to come to the campus and feel very welcome. It's going to be a transparent building, so the activities on the inside will be seen from the outside. And I think that's will be welcoming in that sense, as opposed to the brick walls we currently have. But it will primarily be a building where the acoustics of the 21st century for music and theater and the digital support and infrastructure will be provided to students, as well as rooms that no longer leak and some of the things that old buildings tend to do.
And these projects are going, you see them going ahead despite the state's financial problems?
Well, actually, I think that this Performing Arts Center is an interesting case in point because this has been a public-private venture from the beginning.
Okay.
And I have to salute President Kimmick for that, because he had the vision to invite donors to contribute, and it will bear the name of Leonard and Claire Tao Performing Arts Center, because they provided $10 million to this project, and other wonderful donors and supporters of Brooklyn College have provided an additional $9 million. So this will be a building with both state and city and donor money, and it will be a wonderful partnership when it is finally erected.
And certainly will, as you said, give you a stronger position within the cultural life of Brooklyn.
Yes, and Brooklyn College is well known for our strong arts programming, both in theater and music. Our Conservatory of Music is well known, but also in radio, television, and in film. In fact, we're about to develop new graduate programming in film.
Really?
Yes, that is moving through the system, as they say, in terms of curricular changes, but it's a very exciting project. And we are hoping for a partnership that will be truly unusual with the production world. And
there's so many young people who are interested in film, and they can't all get into NYU, or what's the one out in California that's so
UCLA,
right,
and USC.
Right.
Well, as a matter of fact, that's another part of the affordability equation, isn't it? That even for graduate education, that private graduate education is hugely expensive. In fact, we've costed it out. And the typical student going to Columbia or New York, NYU for graduate programming in film would be spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 and upwards for a master's degree, whereas we are planning to have a master's program with 7 different master's degree foci for somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000 a year.
Big difference.
Big difference. Yeah.
We're going to take a short break. Then we'll be back with more with Dr. Karen Gould after the following messages.
Mr. Two Shortbread Fudgy Nut Bars. How many trees in the cookie jar? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Go Dad! Go Dad!
Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University, and I'm talking with Dr. Karen Gould, the president of CUNY's Brooklyn College. Your new dorm is almost completed. Will that be a first for Brooklyn College?
It will be a first, and this is another public-private partnership, because we are not funding this residence hall. It actually has been built by a developer, and we are in partnership with the developer to make this opportunity affordable for our students and drive them to this opportunity, which is only 2 blocks away from campus. And we have been in consultation. We are going to have security there. for this facility, and we are also going to have programming. It's a wonderful facility, and it will be the first time in Brooklyn College's history where students, both undergraduate and graduate, can have a residence hall with all of the amenities of a contemporary residence hall close to campus.
Will that be opening in the fall? Will
Yes,
it be ready?
for September.
What's that going to mean for the college?
Well, I think it's going to be the first major step in what I hope will be a transformation in terms of the opportunities to be both residential and also commuter. And that means that life on campus 24/7, as we say, will have to be more robust. And we are already moving in that direction. We have a 24/7 library cafe that's open all night. We have extended our library hours during the week for late nights and early arrivers. And we now have a new athletic facility, the West Quad Center, which is both an athletic facility and a one-stop shop for registration and all of those other student services. And that facility also will accommodate students and recreation on the weekends. So the campus will be more vibrant, more days of the week and the evenings. And I think, my great hope is that we will have a second residence hall within the next decade.
Really? Yeah, I know those Queens College, which just opened its first dorm back in the fall, is dealing with those same issues. One, how do you feed the students who live on campus over the weekends?
That's right. That's
been an issue.
Yes, it is. And it's interesting, when we get back to the CSU CUNY comparisons, many CSU campuses in California that were commuter have now, in the last 15 years, begun to provide residence as well for those students and have had to go through those transitions. Right. But I think it's a very healthy evolution.
And presumably you'll be able to accommodate more students from out of town will be interested in coming to Brooklyn College.
That's exactly right. And as a matter of fact, we have learned through a transportation study that for our undergraduates, nearly a third of our undergraduates travel 90 minutes a day each way to get to campus. So even some of those students who are traveling 90 minutes, if they can't afford it, will perhaps want to consider. Mm-hmm. We have had, just in the several months where the announcement has been out, over 900 students inquiring about the residence hall for fall. So there's keen interest.
How do you find the level of preparation of your incoming students for work at the college level?
They are, by and large, well prepared. And I say by and large because there are some who are not as well prepared. We have raised standards in the last several years so that the SAT minimums are now 1,000 at Brooklyn College. And we do have some special programs.
That's the
baseline.
Okay.
And our mean SAT score for fall 2009 freshmen was 1,100. It is looking to us with the current crop for next fall, first-time full-time freshmen 2010, that the mean will likely go up. There is even higher demand across CUNY, I should say, and even higher demand for Brooklyn as a first choice than we've seen in the last several years. So we're pleased. Nonetheless, we are taking steps for those students who are not as well prepared in the two areas where our students, and I think it's true across CUNY, tend to have more challenges is if English is a second language. So we do have an ASL program that's very important for our students, and also in the area of mathematics. And this is a national problem. It's not even just an urban problem. It is a national problem because of many factors, but we want to make sure that our students have the mathematics backbone that they need, because math is an entree for so many majors, not just in the sciences, even in the social sciences, in psychology, to do stats. So it's very important that students acquire a baseline knowledge of math in order to be successful.
Do they have, is there a math requirement at the college? Is there a math science requirement?
There is a math computer science requirement, yes, in the core. We actually have a rigorous core curriculum. Mm-hmm. It isn't as math heavy as it could be, but there is a.
So you don't get out without taking some math or computer
that's
related.
Right. Yeah. Some computer literacy, mathematics literacy. That's correct.
Do you get a chance to work in your own field, which is French-Canadian Studies? And what is French-Canadian Studies?
Well, less and less time these days, I have to confess. But yes, I do. I actually just finished another article before I came to Brooklyn College, so it may be the last one I write for a while. French Canadian Studies, like other area studies, is really about the study of French Canada writ large, which includes the province of Quebec, but also other provinces in Canada, because there are francophones, we call them francophones, French-speaking population that is rather significant in a number of other provinces in Canada outside Quebec. So French Canadian Studies is basically the study of that culture, that geography, that history, and that dynamic society, both in terms of its origins and where it is today. And it's an interesting society to study because it is one of the few minority societies in North America that has managed to survive. If we look at Louisiana, we do have a French Canadian or Cajun population that still is residual, but it is, it has become very isolated and we might say disconnected to, in many ways, to the main culture of, the English-speaking American mainstream. So I think it's difficult, for example, to maintain French in Louisiana. They do work at it, but it's a challenge in that environment because it's such a small population. Quebec, on the other hand, they have legislated to protect French as the major speaking language in Quebec.
Now, is Quebec the only primarily French-speaking province in Canada?
Yes, it is the only majority-speaking French province at about 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Brooklyn has a beautiful campus, probably very beautiful right about now.
It is splendid.
Is that, I assume that's a draw for students?
Yes, it is. In fact, we have been designated as one of America's most beautiful campuses numerous times, including by the Princeton Review. And all you have to do is walk around the quad just about now, and you do understand that. We have a central quad that is fashioned after the UVA quad of Mr. Jefferson, and it is quite stunning. So.
How many professors do you have?
We have over 550 full-time faculty, and then we also have part-time faculty, quite a few part-time faculty as well. And those faculty are particularly important both at the lower level introductory courses for part-time, but also in the professional areas where, because New York is so rich,
right,
that we really like to take advantage of some of the talents of the area.
Do you have more adjuncts and full-time professors and instructors, and is that something that needs to change? I know there's been concern about that.
Well, we are certainly keeping an eye on the balance. Fortunately, I was fortunate to arrive at a time when the prior president had already launched a major campaign to raise the number of full-time faculty from 2000 to 2007 in a rather significant way. So I think that has really helped us. And we do have a commitment to continue to maintain and, as we can, given the budget conditions of the state, continue to improve that ratio. But it is important, I think, to acknowledge that part-time faculty do make a contribution, and they are important, and they can be wonderful and inspiring instructors. So one isn't necessarily always better than the other, but they both have their roles to play.
Right, right.
And it's the healthy mix and balance that is important. It would be very disadvantageous for any campus, public or private, to continue to decline in its full-time faculty vis-a-vis part-time faculty as enrollments increase and as budgets decrease. And that, of course, is the great challenge of public higher ed today.
Given the fiscal restraints, what changes can you reasonably hope for and that you want in the next 3 years for the college? And do you have a wish list? I'm sure you have a wish list.
I do. We're actually about to engage in a serious strategic planning process for fall. And the entire campus community will be involved in that, so I don't want to predict the outcomes. But certainly I do have my own wish list as well. We are going to be restructuring the college into schools. We only have one school of education. And the reason that we are doing this is to create a really strong mid-level leadership at our campus, which we currently don't have. that will give us more visibility for the variety of programming that we have, and also will help us in our fundraising and external sources of income, both in grants and contracts that we really need to secure to remain vital and dynamic as a campus. So that's a very big project, and we will be unfolding that actually in the coming weeks.
Okay.
And so that will be a big change for Brooklyn College, but we are now at a size and a level of complexity where it's really needed. So that's number one on my wish list. And we have a facilities master planning process that is currently engaged. It is very complex, and there are lots of issues to address. So that process we thought would conclude in June will probably likely take us into September.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to do this right, because we need to not only examine the strength and weaknesses of our infrastructure and physical plant, but also the adjacencies, and how can we make better and more efficient use of the space that we have? How can we improve the space that we have, and how can we prioritize those needs for improvement, so that, as you say, we make the best choices in tough budget times? So those are very important. And then I also have a task force on retention and graduation success, which will be giving me a report in May, and we will be making sure that come fall we are implementing many of their recommendations to ensure not only that students come to Brooklyn College, but students come and can succeed, because our goal really is to graduate our students.
Right.
And that's very important for their future success.
We're out of time. I want to
so
thank Dr. Karen Gould, President of Brooklyn College, for joining me today. For the City University of New York and 1-to-1, I'm Sheryl McCarthy.